All right, so here we are another day, another few measly dollars here at the bottom of the barrel where the refrigerators are loud and noisy. I will be the human hosting for you today, so let's see what we can scrape together. Just a little bit about me. I work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, much of the time, but not always, is gig work. I document all the numbers and I take a look at those numbers every day so that I can see where my biggest sources of waste are in the delivery process. I use that channel for myself and also for you guys. For myself, it kind of keeps me accountable and makes me review those numbers every day. Otherwise, sometimes I do get lazy and want to just start working without going through this. But I'm sharing it with you guys in the hopes that it'll help you also identify the largest sources of waste in your process. Eliminate it and make more money. The more money we have, the better things are for everybody. So let's, you can't improve a process that doesn't exist, and you got to start that process if you want to be able to improve it. So let us take a look at the numbers real quick. So yesterday it was a short day because I just had too much other stuff to do, and luckily, not having a boss, I don't have to call in sick. I don't have to tell somebody, ask somebody for permission to go somewhere else. I mean, that's the good side of this work, even though yesterday really sucked in terms of money. But let's go through it. So I worked a total of about 7.5 hours. I had a lot of other things going on yesterday for other endeavors, and sadly, it was a short day. I only had 16 orders. 11 were from Uber, as usual. It's the one that gives me the most. Grubhub, I had 4. DoorDash, I only had 1. DoorDash just kind of fell off. They're just saturated with drivers. Total time was 7 hours and 39 minutes. Total mileage was 172. I don't really track that very much for myself, but people seem to want to know. Total pay was 120. Again, terrible day. It was a short day and low pay. I had basically $16 per hour. Let's see what that really was. $15.69 per hour. That is brutal. That is terrible. But every once in a while there's a day like that. Usually when I have a longer day, things tend to balance out a little better. And I kind of missed the dinner rush. I started at 6. And I had to end early, usually a late night. After midnight is when I start to get really nice orders they're a longer distance, but there's no traffic, and so you can get them done really fast, a lot faster than during the day. So, I kind of worked some crappy hours. So I think that's part of what contributed to my low hourly wage. I'd like to start tracking that when. I guess I already have the information, but what times of day are the best? I know that there's the general knowledge of peak times, but I tend to not get as many good orders during peak times because that's when all the other drivers are out. After midnight or after maybe 10 or 11, that's when I tend to get really good money. So I'd like to go through that at some point and show you guys where, at least in my area, the best times for dashing are. Gas was $36.77, but that's because I had to return a rental car. I had to fill that up, and then I also had to fill up my own car. So I didn't drive all that much yesterday, but gas was quite a bit of money. Again, I fill up once a day, so whether some days I might have to fill up twice, other days I might not have to fill up at all, but yesterday was twice. All right, that's pretty much how it went. Let's go over, where the waste was. Total time was 7:40. Trolling around for orders was about 2 hours. That was a big chunk of it. Total waiting time was about a half an hour, and most of that, again, as usual, comes from orders not being ready. You can start to lower that number if you know the restaurants that are consistently not ready. There are certain places I just never take. Walmart, I don't take that. It's never ready. It's always a very long wait. places like GoPuff, that's almost always ready. There's never a wait there. Again, since I have on here all the restaurants that I take to and whether or not I had to wait and how long I had to wait, that's something that, I could actually take a look at and see, are there any restaurants that I'm picking up from that are really causing me a lot of lost time. Maybe I'll put that up at some point, just to show you guys how I'm doing it. Customer issues. There were only 2 customers that made me wait yesterday. It was a short day. Not that they made me wait, but that the drop-off wasn't just nice and quick. And not because I had to go into a complex or something like that, but because, usually it's the customer gives me a code that doesn't work and I have a hard time getting a hold of them to get another code. Or they want to meet at the door, but they're not present or they're not responding. Yesterday, that's what the 2 were. Failed orders. So, failed orders is when you can't complete an order. I had 3 yesterday. Although, technically, one of those I unassigned, but I'll tell you why. So, it took me a total of 31 minutes. The one place was closing up as I got there. Pretty rude people. They just ran out of the item and were closing up, even though they still had Uber orders. And they refused to cancel them on their end. So, of course, I had to cancel on my end, and it counts against me, which sucks. There was another one where they just didn't have the order in the system, and they weren't willing to make it. So, that was that. The comp unknown, that's where compensation is unknown, because one of those orders that, the one that was closed, was a stacked order. And because I had to cancel the first one, I didn't know how much the second one, which was the long part of the delivery, I didn't know how much that is. I'm not going to do it if I don't know how much it's worth. So I went ahead and unassigned, and that counted against me. So that's where my waste was. 2 hours of trolling, half an hour of waiting, mostly due to not ready, and a half an hour of failed orders for things that weren't my fault. So that's about 3 hours total out of 7.5 hours. I mean, that's a big chunk of the day was just waste. So here, let's take a look at the theoretical limit. I like looking at this because it motivates me to find ways to improve what I'm doing. So actual cash was 120 in 7 hours and 40 minutes. So there again, there's the waste, and we did go over that already. 3 hours out of a 7.5 hour shift is not good. So if we remove all that waste, it would have been 4 hours and 33 minutes, and I would have had a wage of $26 an hour, which is not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad either. My original numbers, if I would have worked 15 hours with that amount of waste in there, I would have made $235, which is pretty terrible. But if you remove all the waste and scale it to 15 hours, it would have been $396. So it's a fair amount. It's about 70% more if we can, eliminate all the waste, which, it's not really possible to eliminate all of it, but we might be able to eliminate a big chunk of it. So let's see. Really, the biggest waste was trolling. So what can we do about that? Well, we could take more orders, but the orders that I didn't take, they're pretty terrible. They're definitely under $20 an hour, on the face of it, which means if anything goes wrong, it could be worse than what it's showing you. So if your best case scenario doesn't meet the threshold you're looking for, then it's really not worth taking it. So what's the other way that I can eliminate trolling? Well, I can get on more apps. Right now I have 3 apps that I turn on when I'm waiting for an order. I get one order and I turn off the other ones. And that keeps me fairly busy. Usually I have decent days. But I just onboarded with an additional app, and I'm working on onboarding with a 5th one. And those 2 are catering, which means you actually have to pre-sign up for an order, which I don't really care for, because that means that maybe I get a good DoorDash order before that, but it's going to take me too long and I won't be able to get to the scheduled catering pickup. so I can't take that DoorDash order. So it kind of messes with how I run my process. But it is supposedly better pay, so I'm going to see how that works out. And by having those two orders, that might allow me to eliminate some of the trolling. But I just don't really like the idea of blocking off time to go to an order when the rest of the apps that I use are kind of like impromptu. You turn on the apps and see what you can get. But I guess my point in general is that if you can get more apps to offer you, to make offers to you, you're likely to spend less time trolling. So we shall see. I wouldn't have had any of those catering orders anyways during the time that I was dashing. But maybe there's other. I did onboard with another gig delivery app, just like DoorDash and Uber Eats. It was an Asian food related one, but I just never got any orders from them ever. So I'll look into those again. There's a channel called Your Driver Mike, and he goes through everything that even exists on the market in terms of gig apps, even outside of food delivery. So if you're interested in finding more things that you can onboard with in order to get more offers, in order to reduce downtime, Your Driver Mike is a great channel just to see what's out there and to see how it works, how they work. So I guess that's about it, man. I made a short day with shitty money yesterday, but if we could have eliminated a lot of the waste in the process, it would have been a decent day. But that's it for now. I guess we'll scrape up some more fluff tomorrow with you. Yeah, if you find any value in this, and if it helps you see your delivery process in a way that you can identify the biggest waste in your own process, give a like and a subscribe. I promise you this channel will get better. Video will get better. My presentation will get better. It's going to take time, though. Small improvements compounding over time. All right, have a good one, y'all. See you tomorrow.